If someone had told me my wedding day would feel less like a romance and more like a business merger, I would have laughed in their face. Quinn Mercer had never been one for fairy tales. Not because she doubted love existed, but because she'd spent her life watching reality tear hope apart in the harshest ways. At 26, she already knew too well the weight of sacrifice and the brittle sound of dreams splintering under pressure. Her family's firm, Mercer and Sons Architecture, wasn't just a company, it was an inheritance, one she'd seen her grandfather build from nothing, her father fight to hold together, and now it was the thing she was expected to save while it slowly bled out in front of her. She sat alone in the firm's dusty office as the sun sank outside, golden light slipping through stained blinds to fall across scattered blueprints no one would ever pay to see realized. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister. "Come home now. It's happening." No punctuation, no detail. But Quinn felt the drop in her stomach anyway. The silence at home was worse. Her mother sat stiffly at the kitchen table, eyes locked on a thick legal document. Her father stood near the window, tense, defeated. The man who once taught her how to dream now unable to lift his gaze from the floor. It was Tessa who finally spoke, placing the folder into Quinn's hands. "It's a contract, a solution, maybe our only one." Quinn skimmed the contents, confusion giving way to disbelief. Marriage, legal, binding, 2 years. "What the hell is this?" "It's an offer," Tessa replied. "From the Hale family, from Alexis Hale." The name hit her like a slap. Everyone in the business world knew her. CEO of Hale Industries. Ruthless, brilliant, distant. Rumors surrounded her like mist, emotionally vacant, impeccably controlled, incapable of attachment. "She wants a wife," Quinn scoffed. "Why not a wife?" Tessa said tightly. "A partner for a merger or inheritance or whatever her cold heart requires. All she wants is a formal public 2-year marriage. Appearances only, zero intimacy. You'd sign a prenup, get paid generously, and walk away after the term." Quinn stared at the paper again, her heart pounding. This is insane. So is losing the company, the house, everything. Quinn wanted to scream. She'd worked so hard to avoid this kind of life. Transactional, hollow, false. She wasn't some trophy, but she also wasn't going to watch her family collapse. That night, she didn't sleep. The contract sat on her desk like a live wire. What kind of woman proposes a legal union like this? What does that say about Alexis Hale? What does it say about her that she was even considering it? The Hale Industries headquarters loomed over Crown District like a temple of power. All glass, steel, and silence. Quinn arrived the next morning dressed in her best attempt at professional armor. A tailored dress, heels that hurt, lipstick she never wore. The private elevator opened onto the top floor, and for a moment she wondered if she'd made a mistake. Everything was cold, modern, sharp. Then she saw her. Alexis Hale stood behind a glass desk, dressed in black, like a shadow cut into the skyline. Her hair was swept into a twist, so precise it looked sculpted. Her gaze, when it landed on Quinn, was piercing, cool, and unreadable. "Miss Mercer," she said, voice calm and low with the effortless authority of someone used to being obeyed. "Thank you for coming." Quinn tried to keep her voice steady. "Of course." Alexis gestured to the chair across from her. No handshake, no smile. Quinn sat, feeling awkward and underdressed. Alexis studied her for a long second. "You've read the terms?" "Yes." "Do you object to most of it?" "Will that stop you?" "No." Alexis's expression didn't change, but there was a flicker barely there, of something that might have been approval, or maybe amusement. "Then let's not waste time." "You don't believe in small talk?" Quinn asked, trying to summon some control. Alexis's lips twitched at the corners, but didn't quite become a smile. I believe in precision. Quinn exhaled slowly. Why me? Because your family's company is valuable to me, and because you're clean, no scandals, no ties. You're ordinary, and I need ordinary right now. Reliable, predictable. So, you want a ghost with a pulse. I want peace, Alexis said softly. And for a fraction of a second, something in her eyes slipped, not vulnerability, just the shadow of it. Quinn didn't know why that shook her more than the contract itself. She signed the document with steady hands, even as her insides curled. When she finished, Alexis didn't offer congratulations, only stood and said, "Our wedding is Saturday. You'll be briefed on protocol. My assistant will provide attire, schedule, and media expectations. So I get a ring?" Quinn asked. Alexis looked at her for a beat longer than necessary. "You'll get everything you need to play your part. And what do you get? Control." Quinn nodded slowly, then turned toward the door. Just before she left, she paused. "You don't seem like the marrying type." "Neither do you," Alexis said without missing a beat. Quinn walked out with her heart thudding, and her skin flushed. She didn't know what unnerved her more. The coldness of it all, or the strange, almost imperceptible pull she felt toward a woman who barely looked human, and yet somehow made Quinn feel like she was the one being dissected. Quinn didn't expect a wedding planner. She expected maybe an assistant, a document, or another cold set of instructions typed in all caps. Instead, she found herself sitting in an office that looked like it had been stolen from a luxury bridal magazine, surrounded by cream-colored swatches, curated lighting, and a woman named Serena, who wore heels sharper than Quinn's ability to pretend she wasn't spiraling. "Miss Mercer, you'll wear Dior. Minimalist, elegant, timeless. We've already coordinated it with Miss Hale's wardrobe." Quinn blinked. "Do I get to pick anything?" "Of course," Serena said with a tight smile from the pre-approved options. "Alexis values symmetry, clean lines. No surprises, no surprises." Quinn was starting to realize that was less a preference and more a religion. She was measured, fitted, styled, briefed. A week passed like a blur of silk and protocol. Her family signed their own documents under Alexis's corporate legal team, NDAs, financial agreements, ownership transitions. The business was saved technically, but Quinn had never felt less in control of her life. The rehearsal was scheduled for Friday afternoon in a gallery space Alexis owned on the North Bank quarter. White floors, high ceilings, a massive skylight above their heads, as if God himself were watching this performance. When Quinn arrived, Alexis was already there, speaking with the officiant in a hushed voice. She wore a dark navy suit that fit her body, with terrifying precision. Her hair was down for the first time, still sleek, still perfect, but softer somehow, falling past her shoulders like velvet shadows. She turned when Quinn entered, and for a moment her gaze lingered, not assessing, just lingering. "You're early," Alexis said. "You sound surprised." "You don't strike me as someone who arrives before schedule. Maybe I wanted to see what kind of altar I'm being sacrificed on." Alexis's mouth twitched. Quinn wondered if that was her version of a smile. They stood side by side, as the officiant ran through the motions. Vows would be minimal. No religious language. The guest list would be kept small. Key figures only. No emotional toasts. No dancing. No open affection. Every element had been engineered to uphold Alexis's signature brand of absolute control. And yet, as they stood beneath the skylight, reciting hollow words that weren't their own, something shifted. Quinn's voice snagged for a heartbeat on the phrase, "I take you." Alexis's gaze snapped to her, quick and sharp. Quinn felt it like a cable pulled tight between them. Neither of them moved, neither spoke, but in that pocket of silence, something passed between them. a fracture in the carefully staged performance. Later, when they went over the final arrangements in a side room, Quinn's fingers shook as she adjusted the ring she'd been told to wear for the photos. Alexis noticed. "Cold?" she asked. "No," Quinn muttered, "just pretending to marry someone I barely know is apparently messing with my nervous system." Alexis's reply was quiet, almost flat. "You're not the only one pretending." Quinn's head snapped up. For a brief second, Alexis's polished facade slipped. Her eyes, usually so distant, carried something Quinn hadn't seen before. Not softness, but fatigue. A kind of loneliness carved too sharply to be accidental. "Why me?" Quinn asked again, her voice lower now. "Why not pick someone from your own world?" Alexis didn't respond immediately. When she finally did, her words were barely above a whisper. "Because I knew you wouldn't ask too many questions. You care more about your family than yourself. That makes you predictable." "You're wrong," Quinn said, though she didn't understand why the comment felt like a bruise. Alexis tilted her head slightly. "We'll see." Then, without warning, their hands brushed. Not deliberate, not choreographed, just a fleeting touch as they both reached for the same folder. The contact crackled. Quinn's breath hitched. Alexis went utterly still. Their eyes met. Neither of them moved. For 3 long seconds, Quinn forgot everything else. The contract, the staged ceremony, the money. There was only this woman, this powerful, unreachable figure, looking at her like she wasn't in the script at all. Then Alexis stepped back, the distance snapping into place again. "We're done here," she said quietly. "You'll be picked up at 9 tomorrow." Quinn walked out of the gallery feeling flayed, unsettled. The dress wasn't real. The ceremony wasn't real. The vows had been crafted by lawyers. But that look, that moment, that had been real, and it frightened her more than anything. Quinn had always imagined her wedding day as something chaotic, not in the cliché way of broken heels or flower girls running wild, but chaotic, in feeling, in rawness, in the kind of trembling joy she used to think love could bring. She'd imagined it would feel like being seen, chosen, wanted. Instead, this day was quiet, clinical, flawless, in a way that felt aggressively hollow. She stood inside a private dressing room, lined with mirrors and white roses that carried no scent. The woman in the reflection looked unfamiliar, a stranger wrapped in a tailored Dior dress that hugged her like a cage, hair swept into a sleek updo, skin dusted with expensive makeup that erased all trace of fatigue. Serena hovered in the corner with her clipboard, listing timestamps in a sterile voice. "You'll enter at precisely 400 p.m. The ceremony is 20 minutes. Photos after, no improvisation. Miss Mercer. Miss Hale expects precision." Quinn didn't answer. Her fingers toyed with a diamond ring in a velvet box, a ring chosen not for meaning, but for optics. Her phone buzzed, and for a moment, her heart lifted, hoping it was Tessa, but it wasn't. It was a reminder from Alexis's assistant. "Car ready at 3:35. Security detail has been briefed. Do not deviate from planned route." She never felt so watched in her life or so alone. The car was black, silent, manned by a driver who didn't speak, the world outside blurred by in November gray. When she arrived at the gallery-turned-wedding venue, she was ushered through a back entrance away from the few guests who'd been permitted to attend. Investors, partners, legal figures. No one who'd cry, no one who'd cheer. Quinn was led to the starting point of the aisle, just as the music began. Soft, classical, soulless, and there she was, Alexis, at the end of the aisle, impeccable, in a midnight suit. No veil, no flowers, just her presence, a force sharp enough to cut through glass. Their eyes met. For one terrifying second, Quinn forgot how to breathe. There was no smile on Alexis's face, no warmth, just calm, controlled attention. but it was locked on her like a spotlight. Quinn walked. Every step felt choreographed and disjointed, as if her body were obeying a script she hadn't rehearsed enough. When she reached the altar, Alexis extended her hand. Quinn took it. Cold fingers, steady grip, a spark that neither of them acknowledged. The officiant began. Words about union, partnership, commitment, all fake, all hollow. Quinn recited her lines. So did Alexis. They exchanged rings under artificial light. No kiss, just the announcement. By the power vested in me, I pronounce you legally joined under the terms of your civil contract. Applause. Brief, polite, empty. The moment was over, but Quinn felt like something irreversible had happened. Anyway, hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more, and let me know in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. They moved into the next phase, photos. Public facing moments to sell the illusion. They stood side by side before a gray marble backdrop. Quinn smiled with effort. Alexis didn't smile at all, but she tilted her body just slightly toward Quinn, and that strangely made something twist in Quinn's chest. The photographer instructed them to move closer. Touch her waist, he said. Just a little. We need intimacy. Alexis's hand hesitated, then obeyed, resting lightly at Quinn's side. Through layers of silk and structure, Quinn felt it. The pressure, the restraint, the careful control in every fingertip. Her pulse reacted, in a way she hated. Later, at the small reception, Quinn stood near a wall nursing a glass of champagne she couldn't taste, while people she didn't know talked about tax mergers and quarterly returns. Alexis was across the room in the middle of a tight circle of power suits. She didn't look at Quinn once, and yet Quinn felt her always, as if Alexis's presence altered the gravity in the room, as if no one else mattered. At one point, an older woman approached Quinn with a sharp smile. You must be very special, she said. Alexis doesn't do attachments. Quinn returned the smile, hollow. I'm not sure she's attached. The woman laughed. No one is. That's why we're all afraid of her. Quinn excused herself and found the nearest exit, a balcony. Cold air hit her lungs. She leaned against the rail and closed her eyes. She didn't cry. She never cried, but something in her chest cracked quietly like a bone breaking under pressure. She didn't hear the footsteps behind her, but she felt them. Alexis. She stopped a few feet away. Neither spoke. For a long time, the only sound was the wind. Then Alexis said, You handled today well. You mean I didn't embarrass you? I mean you carried yourself with dignity. Quinn turned slowly. Do you even know what that word means outside of PR? Alexis's jaw tightened. This was never going to be emotional. No, Quinn said, but it was supposed to feel human. Silence, and then so quietly it almost disappeared in the wind. Alexis said, You looked beautiful. Quinn blinked. What? Alexis met her eyes, steady and unreadable. I'm not repeating it. And then she turned and left. No good night, no thanks, just her back retreating into the shadows. Quinn stood there long after the wind turned icy, that single sentence repeating in her head like a secret she wasn't supposed to hear. You looked beautiful. It shouldn't have mattered. It was just a courtesy, just words, but coming from her, from someone who never spoke without calculation. It felt like something fragile and real had slipped out between the lines, and Quinn couldn't decide what scared her more, the possibility that Alexis was beginning to feel something, or the possibility that she was. The penthouse was beautiful, predictably, breathtakingly, disgustingly beautiful. Quinn stood in the middle of the main living space on the 39th floor of one of Hale Industries' luxury properties, a glass-walled masterpiece overlooking the Crown District skyline. The sun bled orange over the horizon, casting long shadows across imported marble floors and minimalist furnishings that looked untouched. Everything smelled expensive, distant, cold. This wasn't a home, it was a showroom. Your room is on the left, came Alexis's voice, smooth and effortless as always. She appeared behind Quinn, sleeves rolled up, phone in hand, already halfway into another meeting. You'll find your things already unpacked. My assistant handled the transition. Quinn didn't respond. She turned toward the hallway Alexis had indicated, found a room that looked like it had been decorated by a luxury magazine editor with commitment issues, and sat on the edge of the bed without removing her coat. This wasn't real, none of it. Not the view, not the designer sheets, not the distant hum of Alexis's voice echoing through the penthouse as she conducted business like the wedding hadn't happened 24 hours ago. Quinn eventually showered, changed into something soft, and tried to sleep. She couldn't. The silence was too loud. In the morning, she woke up to an empty space. Alexis was gone. No note, no message, just a full breakfast spread laid out on the kitchen island, untouched. Quinn stared at the array of pastries, fruit, and eggs like it was a stranger offering her a life she didn't recognize. She picked at a croissant and returned to her room. The next 2 days followed the same rhythm. Silence, formality, distance. They shared a living space, but not a life. Alexis was always working, always composed, always gone. When they crossed paths in the hallway, it was polite nods and a clipped good morning. On the third night, something shifted. Quinn returned late from a walk. She needed air, needed to feel like a person again, and found Alexis sitting on the edge of the long gray sofa, head in her hands. It took her a second to register what was wrong. Alexis was never still, never without posture or purpose, but now she looked off. Her hair was down, skin pale, eyes glassy. Alexis, Quinn said cautiously. No answer. She stepped closer. Are you okay? Alexis blinked slowly, then shook her head like it took too much energy to form words. Quinn crossed the room and crouched in front of her. You're burning up, she murmured, pressing a hand to Alexis's forehead before the other woman could flinch away. You have a fever. I'm fine, Alexis rasped. You're absolutely not fine. It's just exhaustion. Do you always work yourself to the point of collapse? It's efficient. It's stupid. Alexis tried to glare, but it lacked power. Quinn sighed and stood. Come on, where are we going? To bed, and not in the way your shareholders would panic over. Alexis narrowed her eyes, but let Quinn help her up. She was unsteady, her body radiating heat, her steps slow. Quinn led her to the main bedroom, Alexis's room, and pulled back the covers. Get in, she ordered. I don't, Alexis. For once, shut up, and let someone take care of you. Alexis stared at her like no one had ever said that to her before. Then silently, she slid beneath the sheets. Quinn fetched a cold compress and painkillers, placed water by the bed, and turned the lights down. She sat beside her, unsure why she hadn't walked away yet. Alexis's breathing slowed, but her eyes remained open, watching Quinn with a guarded intensity. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. Quinn exhaled. Because someone should. It's not part of the contract. Neither was telling me I looked beautiful. Alexis's lips parted slightly, but she didn't reply. Quinn looked away. You know, I used to think you were just cold, but now I think you're scared of meeting anyone. Alexis's voice was barely audible. Is that a problem? No, it just makes you human. Alexis turned her head, closing her eyes. Quinn stood slowly. Get some sleep. She reached for the door. Quinn. The sound of her name in Alexis's voice stopped her cold. Not sharp, not commanding, just soft. She turned. Alexis didn't open her eyes. Thank you. Quinn swallowed hard and left the room. That night she didn't sleep, either because something about seeing Alexis like that, vulnerable, quiet, unguarded, unlocked something she couldn't name, and she wasn't ready for what it meant. Alexis didn't like being sick, that much was obvious. For 2 days, Quinn watched her move through the apartment like a trapped animal, uncomfortable in her own skin, furious at her body for failing her. She refused to rest for long, insisted on replying to emails, even with a fever, and grew visibly annoyed every time Quinn entered the room with soup, water, or medication. But she didn't tell her to stop, and that silence said more than any polite dismissal. Quinn began to notice small things. Alexis never turned her back when Quinn was in the room. She slept with one hand curled beneath her pillow, tense even in unconsciousness. She drank tea without sugar, read the news before sunrise, and liked silence like other people liked music. She didn't smile, not really, but sometimes her mouth softened at the corners when Quinn said something dry or unexpected. It wasn't affection, not yet, but it wasn't nothing. On the third day, Alexis emerged from her room, dressed in soft black loungewear instead of a suit, her hair unstyled, her face bare. She looked human, beautiful, but human. Quinn was on the couch reading. She looked up surprised. "You're out." "I'm fine," Alexis said, but her voice was. Quinn raised an eyebrow. "Sure you are." Alexis ignored the sarcasm and crossed to the kitchen. She opened the fridge, frowned and turned. "Did you cook?" "No, I ordered. I don't trust whatever's in that industrial-sized pantry you call a kitchen." Alexis considered that, then said, "I haven't eaten real food in days." "That's because you've been dying slowly. Be in your room, like a Victorian." A pause, then unexpectedly, a soft short laugh. "You're ridiculous," Alexis said. "You should try it sometime." Quinn closed her book and stood. "Dinner," she said. "Tonight we eat together. No laptops, no contracts, just food." Alexis hesitated. "You don't have to." "I know I don't. I want to." That seemed to throw Alexis off more than anything, but she nodded. "Fine." Quinn spent the afternoon choosing a simple recipe, something comforting: pasta, garlic bread, salad. She cooked in silence, but it wasn't the same silence that hung around Alexis. It was warm, focused, real. She set the table at the marble island, lit a small candle just because, and waited. When Alexis entered the room that evening, freshly showered, wearing a simple navy sweater and tailored black pants, Quinn forgot how to breathe for half a second. Alexis noticed. Her gaze flickered, sharp but unreal. "You cooked. Don't sound so shocked." "You lit a candle. It's ambience. Don't fight it." Alexis sat across from her. They ate in near silence at first, then gradually, words began to fill the space. "You're from Riverton," Alexis said. "Born and raised." "You're firm." "It was your grandfather's." "Yes, he built it with his hands. I learned to sketch on his work." "Why architecture?" "Because I like the idea of giving people space to belong, places that matter, not just buildings but homes, stories." Alexis nodded slowly. "That makes sense. What about you?" Quinn asked, surprised by her own curiosity. "Why business?" Alexis's eyes darkened. "Because it was never a question. My father handed me the company. My mother handed me the responsibility. I inherited a life. I didn't choose one." Quinn's throat tightened. "That sounds lonely." "It's efficient." "You keep saying that because it's true. Doesn't make it right." Alexis's eyes met hers, sharp and tired and beautiful. "Right doesn't matter in my world." Quinn pushed her plate away and leaned forward slightly. "Then maybe you need a new world." The air shifted. Alexis's breath caught almost imperceptibly. Her gaze dropped to Quinn's mouth for a fraction of a second. Then she looked away. "You're naive. You're terrified. I'm realistic. You're miserable. You're reckless. And you're not as cold as you want me to believe." The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was electric. Alexis stood abruptly and began clearing the plates. Quinn followed her into the kitchen. Their hands brushed over the sink. Alexis froze. Quinn didn't move. The contact was brief, bare skin, a touch that should have meant nothing, but it didn't. Alexis's hand lingered. Quinn looked at her slowly, deliberately. She stepped closer. Alexis's breath faltered. "Don't," she said, voice low. "Why?" "Because I don't know what happens if we do." "Maybe that's the point." Alexis's eyes closed just for a second, like she needed strength. Then she stepped back.
The space between them filled again with distance. Quinn nodded once. No anger, no drama, just understanding. Okay, she whispered. Alexis turned away, fingers digging into the edge of the counter as if it were the only thing holding her upright. Quinn walked out of the kitchen, heart pounding, every muscle tight. In her room, she sank onto the bed, breath catching. That almost moment burned beneath her skin. She hadn't touched Alexis to make her feel anything, but something had shifted anyway. Something irreversible. Something neither of them could keep pretending didn't exist. Alexis avoided her after that. It was impossible not to notice. After the dinner, after the almost touch, the almost kiss, the almost collapse of whatever fragile boundary had kept them polite, Alexis pulled back like a tide yanked violently out to sea. She started leaving earlier, coming home later, answering Quinn's attempts at small talk with clipped single words or heavy, unreadable silence. Quinn told herself not to care. She reminded herself of the agreement, the contract, the arrangement they'd both signed. But paperwork didn't account for the twist in her chest at the sight of Alexis's empty coffee mug beside a chair she no longer used. Contracts didn't warn her about the sting of absence, the way cold avoidance could settle over the penthouse like fog. On the fifth day of silence, a notification popped up on the shared calendar Alexis's assistant managed. Thursday, Hale Foundation Gala. 8 p.m. Formal attire required. Spouses expected together. Quinn stared at the words, then read them again. Expected together, so it wasn't optional. She'd never attended a gala before, much less one where she was supposed to play the elegant wife to a woman who now looked at her like she was something dangerous, volatile. That night, Quinn didn't knock on Alexis's office door. She didn't ask what the dress code was beyond what the calendar dictated. She didn't try to push for a conversation Alexis clearly had no intention of having. She just let the hours slide by, the distance between them thick and unresolved. The night of the gala arrived cold and cutting. Wind howled around the building as Quinn stood before the mirror in the closet's private dressing room. Wrapped in a deep emerald silk gown Serena had selected days before, her hair was swept into a soft classic updo, her lips painted a subdued red. She studied her reflection and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked stunning. She also looked like a lie. Alexis was waiting in the foyer. She wore a sharply tailored black tuxedo that ignored every traditional rule, commanding, devastating. Her hair was pinned up again, her expression impossible to read. When Quinn stepped into the foyer, their eyes met. No greeting, just a pause, just the kind of silence that felt loud. Alexis offered her arm. Quinn hesitated, then took it. They descended in the private elevator, the hum of the motor the only sound between them. At the gala, flashbulbs and chatter filled the vast ballroom like static. Crystal chandeliers glowed above seas of designer gowns and expensive suits. Waiters passed with champagne and music fluttered somewhere in the background like decoration. Quinn felt Alexis stiffen as they entered. Instinct, defense, performance. A man in a navy suit approached. Alexis, you look astonishing, and this must be your wife. Quinn extended her hand, smiled. Quinn Mercer, it's lovely to meet you. She felt Alexis's body shift beside her, subtle, approving. The man smiled and wandered off, and so the evening began. A series of polite conversations, meaningless praise, strategic nods. Alexis was flawless, commanding, controlled. Quinn played her role warm, grounded, supportive. They looked perfect, and Quinn hated every second of it because pretending to be loved by someone who wouldn't even look at her when they were alone was beginning to feel like slow torture. At one point during the photo op, a photographer directed them toward a staged platform near a floral wall. Closer, please,
He said. We need warmth, chemistry. Miss Hale, perhaps a hand on her back. Miss Mercer, a smile. You're newlyweds after all. Alexis's jaw ticked. Quinn didn't move. The photographer waited. Alexis stepped behind Quinn slowly, reluctantly, and placed her hand on the small of Quinn's back. Her skin burned through the silk. Quinn's breath caught. Alexis's hand didn't tremble, but it tightened ever so slightly, as if she felt it too. The heat, the danger. Quinn leaned back, just a fraction. Not enough to alarm the crowd, but enough that Alexis would feel it. Their bodies aligned. Her shoulder touched Alexis's collarbone. Her hand brushed against Alexis's wrist. And just like that, the world around them blurred. There were no cameras, no investors, no expectations, just the way Alexis's breath hitched against her ear, and the way Quinn almost turned her head. The photo was taken. They stepped apart. A perfect image, a perfect lie. Later in the car, silence stretched between them like wire. Quinn stared out the window. Alexis stared at the floor. "You didn't have to touch me like that," Quinn said finally. Alexis didn't reply. "You didn't have to make it feel real." Alexis's voice was quiet. "It was supposed to look real." "It did. Then I did my job." Quinn turned to face her. "Is that what I am to you? A job?" Alexis met her eyes. "Yes." A beat, then softer. "No." Another pause. "I don't know." Quinn laughed bitter. "At least one of us is honest about it." "You think I'm not?" "I think you're drowning in something, and you won't let me near enough to know what it is." Alexis looked away. "That's not your role, to care, to notice." "Well, I do." "Don't." Quinn leaned in. "Why not?" "Because if you keep looking at me like that, I'm going to forget. This is all pretend." The words stopped everything. The space, the air. Quinn didn't move. "Then forget," she whispered. Alexis looked at her, really looked at her as if seeing Quinn for the first time, and realizing she was dangerous or worse, desired. She didn't kiss her, not yet, but she reached out and touched Quinn's wrist, slow and deliberate. Her fingers lingered. "I don't know how to do this," she said. "Do what?" Quinn whispered. "Feel something and not ruin it. Then don't ruin it." Alexis pulled her hand back, like it burned. Quinn stared down at her lap. The car stopped. The doors opened. Neither moved. The driver waited. Alexis stepped out first. Quinn followed. In the elevator they didn't speak. In the apartment, they didn't say goodnight, but Quinn stood in her bedroom, staring at the door, and wondered what would have happened if she'd kissed her in that car. And Alexis in her own room sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her hands like they were guilty of something she didn't dare name. The invitation had come as another calendar notification. A long weekend at one of the Hale estates outside the city. Private, isolated, snow forecasted, just the two of them, no assistants, no corporate handlers, no curated schedule. Quinn had stared at the message for a full minute before closing her laptop and walking away. It felt like a trap, or worse, an opportunity. The car arrived Friday morning. A black SUV with tinted windows and a driver who didn't ask questions. Alexis was already inside when Quinn stepped in, dressed in gray cashmere, her expression unreadable. "Good morning," she said. Quinn nodded. "Sure." The road stretched out in silence. Crown District faded into gray highways, then bare trees, then hills dusted with early snow. Hours passed. Words didn't. Quinn read, Alexis typed, but the tension between them sat like a third passenger breathing cold air into the back seat. By the time they arrived at the estate, if you could even call it that, Quinn was shivering. The house was a modern fortress of glass and stone nestled into a cliffside that overlooked a frozen lake. It was stunning, isolated, untouchable, just like Alexis. Inside, the house was warm, spacious, almost too clean. A fireplace burned low in the main room. The fridge was fully stocked. Their bags were already placed in separate rooms upstairs. Quinn stood in the center of the living room, arms crossed. Sell romantic getaway. Alexis raised an eyebrow. Strategic retreat. "I needed quiet. You needed to escape me. I invited you. You ordered me. I wanted you here." The words dropped like ice. Quinn stared at her. "Why?" Alexis's jaw tightened. "Because I don't know what this is, and I thought maybe away from all of it I could think." "Do you always overthink your feelings?" I don't have feelings. Then why are you scared of mine? Alexis looked away. You don't know what I've done to people who've cared about me. Try me. But Alexis said nothing. That night, Quinn explored the house alone. She found a sunroom full of half-dead plants, a study filled with untouched books, a piano no one had played in years. She touched the keys. They were cold. Everything in this house felt like Alexis's mind. Beautiful, vast, controlled, and desperately empty. Quinn cooked something simple for dinner. Alexis joined her in silence. They ate at the long wooden table like strangers trying to remember a script. How long has this place been in your family? Quinn asked. My grandfather built it. My father made it profitable. I made it quiet. Is that what you want? Quiet. Alexis's eyes met hers. Sometimes I wonder if I just want peace. Do you think you deserve it? No. The answer hit Quinn in the gut. She didn't ask why. The next morning, snow covered the world outside. White, pure, inevitable. Quinn found Alexis standing on the balcony barefoot, dressed in a robe, staring at the lake like it held answers. You'll freeze, Quinn said. Alexis didn't turn. I used to come here as a teenager, hide from school for my father. Why? He believed softness was weakness, emotion was failure. He raised me to win at any cost. So you turned off everything human in you. I tried. You failed. Alexis turned. Her eyes were glassy, not with tears. Alexis didn't cry but with something heavier, shame. She stepped back inside. Quinn closed the doors behind her. Later, after lunch, a storm rolled in. Wind screamed against the windows. The house creaked. The lights flickered once, then again, then darkness, a full blackout. Generator? Quinn asked. Alexis cursed under her breath. Not here. There's a fireplace. We'll be fine. You mean you'll be fine? You probably run on battery power. Alexis actually smiled, faint real. Come on. They built the fire together in the main room. Quinn watched as Alexis fumbled with the wood, frustrated, clearly out of practice. Let me, Quinn said, kneeling beside her. Their hands brushed. The spark returned. They didn't pull away. Quinn lit the fire. Warmth filled the space slowly. Shadows danced along the walls. Outside the storm raged. Inside, silence again, but not empty. Quinn leaned back against the couch, watching the flames. Alexis sat beside her close, but not touching. Do you ever want something you know you shouldn't? Alexis asked. Quinn's breath caught all the time. And do you take it? Sometimes, when I can't take not having it anymore. Alexis turned her head. Her eyes were darker than the firelight. What happens when you get it? Sometimes it ruins me. Alexis's voice was tight. I'm afraid I'd ruin you. Then stop pretending I don't matter to you. Alexis looked away. You do matter. That's the problem. Quinn reached out. Her fingers grazed Alexis's hand. Not forceful, not rushed, just a silent offering. Alexis's hand turned beneath hers. Their fingers laced. The room didn't shift. The world didn't stop, but something inside them did. For a long moment, they sat there, hands entwined, breathing the same quiet air. Then Alexis moved closer. Her forehead rested against Quinn's. Their lips didn't touch, but they were close enough to feel every exhale, every tremble. This is a bad idea, Alexis whispered. Then why does it feel so right? Quinn's voice was barely a sound. Alexis closed her eyes. Because I want you, then have me. But Alexis didn't move. She held the moment, protected it, cherished it. Then she pulled back. Not yet, she said. Why? Because when I kiss you, I want it to be real. I don't want to be pretending anymore. Quinn's heart cracked wide open. She nodded. Okay. Alexis stood. Good night, Quinn. Good night, Alexis. The fire burned behind her, and for the first time Quinn felt something real rise from the ashes. They didn't speak much on the drive back to Crown District. The storm had passed, but the silence between them remained heavy, not with avoidance, but with meaning. Quinn stared out the window, watching the trees blur past. her fingers still remembering the shape of Alexis's. That touch, that breathless closeness by the fire had stayed in her body like heat that refused to fade. She wasn't imagining it. Something had changed. Alexis didn't flinch when their hands brushed, didn't correct the driver when he referred to Quinn as your wife with more warmth than irony, didn't retreat. And yet there was something unreadable in her expression, a quiet, deliberate caution, like someone walking barefoot across glass. Back at the penthouse, life resumed or pretended to. Meetings reappeared on the calendar, emails multiplied, their shared routines resumed, but beneath the surface, the energy had shifted. Quinn could feel it, in the way Alexis watched her across the room when she thought she wasn't looking, in the way she hesitated before leaving for work in the mornings, like she wanted to say something and always chose not to. Quinn waited, not because she was passive, but because she knew Alexis was on the edge of something, and sometimes when you're falling you need to jump on your own. 3 days after the trip, Quinn received a call from Tessa. She answered, expecting small talk, but the moment she heard her sister's voice, she knew something was wrong. It's Dad, Tessa said. He collapsed at the sight today. Stress, they think he's stable, but they admitted him. Quinn was already moving, grabbing her coat. I'm coming now. She didn't think. She didn't plan. She just moved. But Alexis was standing by the door when she turned to leave. Where are you going? She asked, not with suspicion, just concern. Quinn's voice cracked. My dad. Hospital. I have to. Alexis didn't speak. She stepped forward and took Quinn's coat from her hand. I'm coming with you. Quinn blinked. You don't have to. I know. She said it simply. The ride to the hospital was quiet, but different this time. Not strained, not guarded, just present. When they arrived, Tessa's eyes flickered in surprise at the sight of Alexis, but she didn't say anything. Quinn's mother looked exhausted and unsteady, older than she had just 3 days ago. Quinn wrapped her in a hug, asked what the doctors had said, tried to hold herself together. Alexis stayed a little to the side, watching until Quinn's mother stepped toward her. Thank you, she said softly, for what you're doing for our family. Alexis's answer was gentle. I'm doing it for her. Quinn heard it. Every part of her heard it. Inside the hospital room, her father was pale but stable. He managed a faint smile. Still stubborn. I see, he told Quinn. Still breathing, I see, she replied, eyes burning with unshed tears. After a while, the air in the room felt too heavy, and Quinn stepped out to catch her breath. Alexis followed her into the hallway. They stopped beneath harsh, sterile lights, the smell of antiseptic hanging in the air. Quinn leaned back against the wall. This is why I said yes, she murmured. This moment, this fear. I thought I could control everything by sacrificing myself, and now, I'm here, still scared, still unsure, still human, Alexis said. Quinn turned to look at her. Alexis's face was open in a way Quinn had never seen before, stripped of its usual armor, exposed and raw. You didn't have to come, Quinn whispered. I know, Alexis said quietly, but I wanted to. Why? Alexis stepped a fraction closer. Because you're not just part of a deal to me anymore. The word stopped everything. Quinn's heart hammered painfully in her chest. Then what am I? She asked. Alexis's gaze didn't waver. You're the first thing that's ever made me feel like I wasn't made entirely out of ice. Quinn forgot to breathe. I don't know how to love, Alexis continued. I only know how to manage, to control, to fix. But you don't need fixing. And that terrifies me. Alexis's I want to kiss you, Quinn, she said. I want to stop pretending I don't think about it every time you walk into a room. But if I do it here, now, in this hallway while your world is falling apart, it'll feel like I'm taking something that doesn't belong to me. You're wrong, Quinn said, voice low. It does belong to you. I do. Alexis's eyes closed like those words cost her something, and when she opened them again, Quinn stepped forward.
Their bodies aligned like they had by the fireplace, but this time no one pulled away. Their mouths met slowly, carefully, like two people who knew exactly what they were risking and still couldn't stop. The kiss wasn't rushed. It wasn't frantic. It was devastatingly gentle and unraveling, a confession of promise. Alexis's hand cubed Quinn's jaw with reverence. Quinn's fingers curled into Alexis's coat like she was afraid of floating away. When they broke apart, foreheads pressed together, neither spoke. They didn't need to. Later that night, back at the apartment, everything was quieter, softer. Alexis made tea. Quinn changed into something warm. They didn't touch right away. They sat together on the couch, feet barely brushing, silence between them full of meaning. Eventually Quinn turned. "Do you regret it?" "No," Alexis said. "Do you?" "Not even close." Alexis exhaled. "I don't know how to be in something like this." "Then let's not define it yet. Let's just feel it." Alexis looked at her. "And if I mess it up, then we clean it up together." "That's not how I work." "Then maybe it's time you changed." Alexis smiled barely, but it was real. Quinn reached for her hand. Alexis let her. No contracts, no pretending, just skin, and maybe finally something that looked like love. The days that followed the kiss existed in a different atmosphere. Everything felt sharper, closer, more electric. Their conversations were no longer guarded. Their silences were no longer empty. When Alexis passed Quinn in the hallway, her eyes lingered a second longer. When their hands brushed in the kitchen, neither pulled away. At night, Quinn could hear the faint movement from the other bedroom, pacing, restless breaths, a presence that filled the walls. They were circling something slow and deliberate, like gravity drawing two bodies into inevitable collision. Quinn didn't push. She waited. She moved through their shared space with quiet confidence, her gaze always steady, her body open, patient. She knew Alexis was still wrestling with herself. A lifetime of control didn't vanish overnight, but something had shifted undeniably, and it was only a matter of time. That night, the sky over Crown District was dark and thick with clouds. Rain drummed against the windows. The city glowed faint and distant, blurred by water and silence. Quinn stood barefoot in the kitchen, sipping wine, her hair loose, her body wrapped in a soft sweater that fell just past her thighs. Alexis entered without a word. She wore no makeup, her hair damp from a recent shower, a long black robe tied carelessly around her waist. She looked devastating, human. Quinn turned and their eyes met. Neither spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was charged. Alexis stepped closer. Slowly Quinn set her glass down. "I don't know how to do this," Alexis said, voice barely above a whisper. "Yes you do," Quinn replied gently. "You just don't know how to do it and feel safe." Alexis's breath hitched. "I've never wanted something like this. Someone like you." "Like what?" "Warm, real, undeniable." Quinn closed the distance. She reached out and touched Alexis's face, her fingers brushing along her jaw, soft and grounding. "Then don't deny it." The kiss came slowly, no rush, no aggression, just surrender. Lips meeting with reverence, mouths learning each other like scripture. Alexis's hands settled at Quinn's waist, trembling slightly. Quinn deepened the kiss, her fingers sliding into Alexis's hair, anchoring them both. They pulled apart only to breathe, foreheads pressed together, chests heaving in sync. "Come with me," Alexis whispered, no command, just a plea. Quinn followed her to the bedroom. The space was dimly lit, quiet, waiting. Alexis paused at the edge of the bed, looking at her like she was about to ruin something precious. "You don't have to." "I want to," Quinn said, steady and sure, "but only if you let me in, all the way." Alexis nodded, her eyes wet, but she didn't cry. She untied her robe slowly, letting it slide off her shoulders. Quinn's breath caught, not just at the sight of her, but at the courage it took for Alexis to stand there fully seen. She stepped forward, placing her hands on Alexis's bare waist. "You're beautiful," she murmured. "You terrify me," Alexis replied. "Good." Quinn kissed her again, this time deeper, hungrier. They fell into the bed together, skin meeting skin in quiet chaos. There was no rush, no script, only need and emotion tangled in every motion. Alexis's body responded like she'd been waiting years for this. Her hands roamed Quinn's back, her lips trailing along her neck, her voice breaking with every gasp. Quinn guided her with tenderness and fire, worshipping her in every touch, showing her what it meant to be chosen, to be cherished. They moved together slowly, learning, discovering, holding, and when Alexis finally let go, fully, loudly, complete, it felt like the breaking of a dam, like silence cracking open to reveal music. They lay tangled in the aftermath, breathless and quiet. Quinn traced lazy lines along Alexis's spine. Alexis buried her face in Quinn's shoulder. "I don't know what to do with this feeling," she whispered. "You don't have to do anything with it. Just let it exist. It's so much. So are you." Alexis shifted, propped on one elbow, looking down at her. "You're not what I expected. You never have been. Good. Expectations are boring." Alexis smiled, small and soft. "You think this will work?" I think we've already started," Quinn said. "Now we get to figure out what it means." Alexis leaned down and kissed her again, slow and sure. And in that kiss, Quinn tasted not fear, but hope. That night they didn't sleep much. They stayed in bed, skin to skin, whispering things they didn't yet know how to say aloud. There was laughter. There were quiet confessions. There were moments when Alexis flinched at her own openness, and Quinn just held her tight. Morning came, pale and gray, but for once neither of them feared the light. Alexis didn't speak much the morning after. She kissed Quinn's forehead before getting out of bed, dressed silently, and disappeared into her office without a word. Quinn lay alone beneath the sheets, her body still tingling with the memory of Alexis's touch, her skin warm, where Alexis had held her, her heart a confusing mess of hope and hesitation. She waited, she made coffee, she sat in the kitchen, watching the skyline grow brighter, listening for footsteps that never came. At noon she knocked on the office door. No answer. She opened it anyway. Alexis was there behind her desk, staring at a screen full of spreadsheets and numbers like last night had never happened. "Hey," Quinn said softly. Alexis didn't look up. "Busy morning." "Yeah, I figured." Silence. Quinn stepped inside. "We should talk." "There's nothing to talk about." The words were cold, calculated. They cut deeper than they should have. Quinn felt her stomach twist. "Alexis, it was a mistake that stopped everything." Quinn's breath caught. "You don't mean that." Alexis still didn't look at her. "You knew what this was." "No," Quinn said, voice trembling. "I knew what it was, but I also know what it became." "It didn't become anything." "Then why are you shaking?" That finally made Alexis look up. Her eyes were darker than Quinn had ever seen them, torn between defense and guilt. "Because I let myself forget the rules," Alexis whispered, "and I don't survive when I forget the rules." Quinn stepped forward, crossing the room slowly. "I'm not your weakness, Alexis. You're the only thing that could destroy me." "Then maybe you should stop running for me." Alexis stood so suddenly her chair rolled back. "You think this is easy for me?" she snapped. "I spent my whole life building walls to keep people out, and you came in and tore them down like you didn't even notice they were there. You don't know what that does to someone like me." "Then tell me," Quinn said. "Let me in. Don't shut me out now." "I don't know how." Alexis breathed. "I don't know how to love someone without losing myself." "You don't have to lose anything. You just have to choose me." Alexis closed her eyes. For a moment Quinn thought she might give in, might say something but when she opened them again, they were guarded once more. "I have a meeting." Quinn's heart shattered a little. "Right, of course." She turned and walked out, her chest burning, her hands trembling. Alexis didn't follow. The rest of the day passed like a blur. Quinn stayed in her room, curled on the bed, not crying, just numb. She didn't know what hurt more, the rejection or the way Alexis had looked at her like she was dangerous. like love was a threat. That night Quinn didn't come to dinner. Alexis ate alone, the silence around her heavy and unfamiliar. She stared at her plate, untouched, and felt something in her chest she couldn't name. Guilt, regret, longing. She didn't know. She only knew that Quinn's absence made the apartment feel unbearably empty. The next morning, Quinn was gone. Not forever, just out. No note, no message, just gone. Alexis spent the day on edge. Every time the elevator dinged, she flinched. Every time her phone buzzed, she hoped. And when Quinn finally returned after dark, soaked from the rain, cheeks flushed with cold, Alexis stood from the couch like her body moved before her mind could stop it. "Where were you?" she asked. Too harsh. Quinn dropped her umbrella. "Walking all day. I needed to think." "About what?" "About whether I'm strong enough to keep choosing someone who keeps pushing me away." The silence that followed was suffocating. Alexis stepped closer. "I never meant to hurt you, but you did. I know, and if I let you do it again, I won't." Quinn stared at her. "Don't promise what you can't keep." Alexis's voice broke. "I'm not promising perfection. I'm promising I'll try." Quinn's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to be something you survive. I want to be something you feel safe with." "You are," Alexis said, stepping even closer. "You're the only thing that's ever felt safe, and that terrifies me more than anything." "Then let it terrify you," Quinn whispered. "But don't let it stop you." Alexis reached for her hand. "Still, I never wanted to leave." Their fingers intertwined. A fragile piece, not a solution but a start. That night they didn't sleep together, not in that way. They lay in bed side by side, holding hands under the covers, sharing quiet breaths and whispered truths. Quinn spoke about her childhood. Alexis listened. Alexis spoke about her mother's distance, her father's control. Quinn then listened, and somewhere in the dark they found something stronger than passion. They found understanding, and maybe just the beginning of real love. The shift between them had been subtle at first. Meals shared without silences, hands reaching for each other unconsciously, kisses that deepened in the middle of sentences. Alexis began to linger more. She waited for Quinn in the mornings, brought her coffee just the way she liked, asked questions not out of obligation but because she wanted to hear the answers. Quinn felt it too, the slow, aching bloom of something she had once sworn off. Hope. The apartment felt warmer, not physically, but emotionally. There were candles at dinner now. Music sometimes played low in the background. They laughed often. Alexis even smiled in public. They were becoming something that neither of them dared but both of them held on to like it was fragile leather. Quinn didn't ask for Alexis didn't offer promises, but they were choosing each other again and again. And that was enough until it wasn't. It started with a knock on the door. Quinn was in the kitchen barefoot, humming something off-key, while flipping through a recipe book. Alexis answered, and the moment she did, Quinn felt it, a shift in the air. Sudden and sharp. She looked up. A woman stood in the doorway, tall, blonde, impeccable, dressed in all black, the cut, and of elegance that didn't apologize for itself. She was smiling. Alexis wasn't. "Sloane." "Alexis," said voice. Quinn moved toward them. "Hi, Sloane." Kate Sloane said. You must be the wife." "Quinn," she replied, offering a hand. Sloane shook it briefly. "Nice to meet you. I'm an old friend of Alexis." "Old friend," Alexis repeated, not smiling. "What are you doing here?" "I was in town, thought I'd stop. Catch up, see if you're still human." Alexis's jaw clenched. "Now's not a good time." "It never was." Sloane's eyes flicked back to Quinn. "But I see things have changed. Marriage looks good on you." Quinn didn't miss the tension or the way Alexis stepped between them like a shield. Sloane cocked her head, still hiding her heart behind contracts. "Darling." Alexis didn't respond. Sloane's smile turned sharp. "Some things never change." Quinn broke the silence. "Would you like to come in?" Alexis turned to her sharply. "No." She was just leaving. Sloane raised both brows. "Wow, you really have changed." The Alexis I knew would have at least merits but the Deesp offered wine before pushing someone out. "Goodbye, Sloane." Sloane looked at Quinn one last time. "Good luck." she said. You'll need it. Then she left. The door clicked shut behind her. Quinn stared at Alexis. Want to tell me what that was? Nothing, Alexis. She's no one. She knew how to hurt you with 3 words. Quinn said quietly. That doesn't sound like no. Alexis walked out into the living room. Quinn followed. Was she your ex? Quinn pressed. From years ago, and now she just shows up at your door. That's what she does. Alexis replied. Shows up, disappears, lays still. Then why do I feel like you haven't actually left her behind? Alexis turned slowly. Because I made a mistake a long time ago. She said. I let her get too close, and she broke something in me I never really fixed. And now I'm trying not to let the same thing happen with you. Then talk to me. Be honest. Alexis's voice dropped. Sloan and I weren't love. We were power, control. We hurt each other. I turned into someone I despised. And when I finally walked away, I swore I'd never let anyone that close again. Her mouth twisted. And yet here I am. Yes, Quinn said. Here you are. So why are you acting like you still owe her a piece of yourself? I'm not. Then why does it feel like I just met a ghost that still haunts you? Alexis looked away. Because maybe she still does. That landed harder than Quinn expected. And what about me? Quinn asked, her voice softer but sharper somehow. Am I just another chapter? Or are you actually trying to write something new? Alexis stepped toward her. You're the only thing that doesn't feel like a repeat. Then act like it. The words hung between them, heavy and exposed. Alexis reached out but Quinn stepped back. No, she said, her voice trembling. I'm not going to be your temporary. I'm not going to sleep in your bed while you hide. Because the past. Quinn, you said you'd try, so try harder. Quinn shot back. Show me. You're not still living in her shadow. Silence spread between them. Then Alexis whispered, I'm scared. So am I, Quinn said. I don't want to lose you. Then don't. Quinn turned and walked to her room. She didn't slam the door. She didn't yell. But the message was unmistakable. This was a line. And Alexis had to decide which side she was going to stand on. Hours passed. Quinn sat curled on her bed in the dark, wondering if loving someone who had been trained to fear love could ever be worth it. She thought of the way Alexis kissed her, the way she shook when she allowed herself to be held, the way she whispered her name like it was both prayer and curse, and she knew, yes, it was worth it, but only it. Alexis chose her back. Just after midnight, a soft knock sounded. Quinn didn't respond. The door opened anyway. Alexis stepped in slowly. She looked wrecked, barefoot, eyes red. I almost let her win again. Alexis said, I almost let my past decide, but I won't. Not this time. Quinn stood. Alexis crossed the room and took her hands.
I'm scared, but I'm more scared of what I'll become if I let you go. Quinn stared at her. Then stay. Alexis leaned in. I'm not going anywhere. They kissed, desperate, honest, not to seduce, to heal. And when Quinn held her that night, she felt Alexis finally exhale something she had been carrying for years. The past was still there, but Quinn was stronger. And this time, Alexis wasn't running. The apartment felt different after the confrontation with Sloan, not because anything physical had changed, but because something inside Alexis had. Quinn noticed it in the way she looked at her now, not guarded, not defensive, but open, present. They touched more, talked more, slept curled into each other like people who'd been holding themselves alone for too long. Alexis started asking Quinn things, real things, about dreams, about regrets, about the kind of life she wanted outside of contracts and obligations. I don't know, Quinn admitted one night, half asleep against her shoulder. I used to think all I wanted was to save my family's firm, but now I think I want more. More. How Alexis asked more than just surviving. I want to build something that's mine, that I choose, that feels like me. Alexis didn't reply, but she held Quinn tighter, as if already bracing herself for a future she didn't know how to be part of. 3 days later, Quinn received the offer, a design firm in Harborview, one of the most respected boutique architecture studios in the country. They had seen her portfolio, loved her perspective, wanted her for a 6-month residency, with the possibility of permanent placement. Quinn read the email 3 times before breathing, then again before opening her mouth. She found Alexis in the study, her glasses perched low on her nose, papers spread around her like a fortress. "I need to tell you something," Quinn said. Alexis looked up, expression immediately alert. "What is it?" "I got an offer." "A good one." Alexis stood slowly. "What kind of offer?" "A residency in Harborview. It's temporary, but it's real. It's mine." Silence. Then Alexis's voice, steady, but low. "You want to go?" Quinn nodded. "I think I do." "When?" 2 weeks. Alexis looked away. "That soon?" "Yeah." Quinn waited, but Alexis didn't say anything else. "Say something," Quinn whispered. "I don't know what to say." "Say you're proud of me." "I am." "Say you want me to go." Alexis's eyes flashed. "I don't." "Then say you'll miss me." "I will." "Then why does it feel like you're about to shut down again?" "Because I don't know how to hold on to something I can't control." "I'm not leaving you," Quinn said. "I'm choosing me for once. What if you don't come back? Then maybe I wasn't yours to keep." That broke something in both of them. Alexis stepped forward. "I don't know how to love someone who isn't right in front of me." "Then learn." "What if I fail?" "Then you fight for me, for us." Alexis stared at her. "I don't want you to go, but you know I need to." "Yes." Quinn swallowed the lump in her throat, then helped me pack. The next 2 weeks passed in a haze of planning, emotion-stolen moments. They made love slowly, like people memorizing each other's skin. Alexis traced Quinn's collarbone, like it was a map she couldn't bear to forget. Quinn whispered, "I love you," into Alexis's neck when she thought she was asleep. Alexis whispered it back when she thought Quinn wasn't listening. On the last night, they stayed up until dawn. No sex, no drama, just Quinn's head on Alexis's lap, while she read aloud from a book neither of them cared about. And when the car arrived the next morning, Alexis carried Quinn's bag to the door herself. "Come with me to the airport," Quinn said. "I can't," Alexis whispered. "If I watch you leave, I won't survive it." "Yes, you will, because I'm coming back. You don't know that." "I do." Quinn kissed her one last time, a kiss full of promise, of ache, of everything they had built. "I'll call every night. I'll answer every time. Don't shut down again." "I won't. I swear." "Alexis, yes. I love you." Alexis's voice cracked. "I love you too." And with that, Quinn walked out the door. Alexis didn't cry. Not then. She sat on the floor by the window, watching the sky, holding Quinn's scarf like it could keep her warm in her absence. She stayed there for hours, breathing, hoping, praying that this time, love would be enough. The first week apart was harder than Quinn expected, not because Harborview wasn't beautiful. It was. The firm was everything she dreamed. Creative, collaborative, filled with people who didn't treat her like a symbol or a favor. Her ideas were heard. Her sketches were praised. For the first time in years, Quinn felt like she belonged somewhere because she deserved it. But at night, when she returned to her temporary apartment, nothing felt like home. The bed was too cold, the silence too wide, and the space where Alexis should be, curled against her back, brushing her fingers, whispering half-asleep confessions, was painfully empty. They spoke every day, short calls in the morning, longer ones at night. Alexis's voice always came through with an edge of tension, like she was trying not to reveal how much she hated being apart. "How was your meeting?" Quinn would ask. "Long, boring, missing you," Alexis would reply. Some nights they talked for hours, others just 5 minutes, but always Alexis picked up. Always. Quinn called. One night, Quinn sent a photo of a cafe where she was working, a table cluttered with sketches, coffee and sunshine. 2 hours later, Alexis sent her a voice note. "You look beautiful when you're focused. I wish I were there. I'd kiss that little wrinkle between your brows until it disappeared." Quinn played the message 5 times before sleeping. She didn't respond with words, just a selfie, her in bed, her sweater, a look that said, "I miss you too." On day 12, Quinn had a terrible meeting. A senior designer rejected one of her concepts in front of the entire team. She held her composure, nodded, took notes, but when she got home she dropped everything on the floor and cried in the kitchen. Her phone buzzed. Alexis. The moment she answered, the tears returned. "Hey," Quinn whispered. "Rough day." "Yeah, want me to fix it or just listen?" "Listen, please." Alexis stayed on the line for 35 minutes, silent except for the soft sound of her breathing. When Quinn finished venting, Alexis finally spoke. "You're brilliant. One idiot's opinion doesn't change that, but I'll personally fly out and threaten them if you want." Quinn laughed through her tears. "God, I love you. I know, I love you too, and that should have been enough, until it wasn't." On day 21, Quinn was offered a contract extension. 3 more months, more money, more responsibility, more pressure. "You don't have to answer now," her supervisor said, "but we'd love to have you longer." "You're good, Quinn, really good." That night, Quinn stared at her phone for a long time before calling. Alexis answered on the second ring. "Hey," she said, instantly alert. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Everything. Talk to me." Quinn told her about the offer, about the opportunity, the fear, the guilt. Alexis was quiet for a long time. "Do you want to stay?" "Part of me does, and the other part wants to come home." Alexis's voice softened. "So come home. I don't want to walk away from this too early." "Then stay." "You're not mad?" "Of course not. I'm proud of you. I just applause." "Then I miss you so much, it hurts." Quinn closed her eyes. "Me too." The next day, a package arrived at her door. No return address. Inside, a notebook, leather-bound with her initials embossed on the cover. Inside, a note in Alexis's handwriting. "Since I can't kiss your forehead every time you doubt yourself right here instead. Every win, every fear, every reason to keep going. And when you come home, I want to read every word." Quinn didn't cry, she sobbed. That night, she wrote 4 pages. The following weekend, Quinn woke up to a knock on the door. She opened it in pajamas, confused, and there she was, Alexis holding a bag of groceries, hair wind-blown, eyes dark from the red-eye flight. "Surprise," she said, almost shy. Quinn stood frozen. "You came. I missed you. But no more excuses. I can run a company from anywhere, but I can't love you from a distance forever." Quinn pulled her inside and kissed her so hard, they stumbled against the wall, clothes half forgotten, mouths hungry, hands shaking. But when they collapsed into bed, it wasn't frantic. It was slow, worshipful. Alexis whispered, "I love you," like a vow between every kiss. Quinn answered with touch, with softness, with a body that had missed hers for too long. After they lay tangled in sheets, the morning sun peeking through the window. "How long can you stay?" Quinn asked. Alexis brushed hair from her eyes. "As long as you'll have me." Quinn exhaled, heart full. Forever might not be long enough. Alexis smiled. "Then let's start with now." And for once, now is everything. The days with Alexis in Harborview were unlike anything Quinn had expected. There was no schedule, no structure, no performance. Alexis didn't bring assistants or laptops or boardroom energy. She brought herself, and only herself. She cooked breakfast badly. She insisted on holding Quinn's hand in public on long walks through the rainy streets. She got lost in independent bookstores, bought Quinn a poetry collection she found dogeared in a second-hand shop, and read aloud to her every night with a quiet reverence that made Quinn fall in love all over again. They made love like they were writing a new language, slow, unhurried, without the urgency of stolen moments. Alexis studied Quinn's body like it was sacred, as if every scar, every sigh, every shift in breath mattered more than anything she had ever signed or sealed. It was bliss, it was everything, and Quinn didn't want it to end. But time, as always, was running. Her 6-month contract was nearing its final weeks, and the conversations around her started to shift. Her team wanted her permanently. The firm's director offered a clear path to senior architect status, something she had only dreamed of. "We'd love to make this official," the director said, smiling. "Your vision, your energy, you belong here, Quinn." Quinn smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That night she sat on the small couch in their temporary apartment, watching Alexis Hale in the warm glow of a floor lamp. Her heart ached, with love, with conflict, with the question she couldn't keep silent anymore. "I got offered the permanent position," she said. Alexis looked up, eyes unreadable for a second too long. "And it's everything I've ever worked for." "Then say yes." "You didn't even hesitate." "Because I love you." "That doesn't make sense." "Yes, it does. I don't want to be the reason you don't grow." Quinn stood, pacing. "But you came all this way. You changed your entire routine to be here, and I would again. But this isn't about me. This is your dream, Quinn. But it's not just my life anymore." Alexis put the book down. "It always will be. Loving me should never cost you yourself." Quinn looked at her, eyes shining. "But I miss home. I miss the version of us that lives in the same place, that builds a routine, that eats dinner at our table. Then let's build a new version. I'll fly here, you fly there. We adjust for now. I don't want temporary love. Then let's be permanent people who are temporarily apart." The words sank in deep. Quinn sat beside her, trembling. "You're letting me go." "No," Alexis said, touching her face. "I'm loving you enough not to cage you." Quinn exhaled shakily. "This is hard. Everything worth having is." That night they didn't make love. They held each other in the dark, whispering memories into each other's skin, as if writing a map for the months ahead. The morning was quiet, a plane ticket on the counter. Alexis had booked her own flight back without waiting for Quinn to ask. "I'll see you soon," she said, at the airport. "I know," Quinn replied. "Don't shut down. Don't forget me." "Impossible." Alexis kissed her like a secret and disappeared into the crowd. The weeks that followed were both rich and hollow. Quinn threw herself into work, blooming professionally in ways she hadn't imagined. Her designs were greenlit, her proposals funded, clients started requesting her specifically. But every night, when she climbed into bed, her arms reached for someone who wasn't there. Calls continued, messages multiplied, care packages crossed coasts, a playlist curated by Quinn, a pen engraved with Alexis's initials, a framed photo of them in bed, laughing unposed but distance nod. Loneliness crept in. On the night of her first official solo project approval, Quinn celebrated alone, with cheap wine and leftover takeout. She called Alexis, trying not to sound small. "You should be here," she said. Alexis's voice came soft through the line. "I know. I want to be." "Come then." A pause. "Then, I have a board summit this week. I can't." Quinn said nothing. Alexis added quickly, "I'll fly in next Friday, just for the weekend." "Okay. I miss you." "I miss you too." They hung up. Quinn cried quietly, not because she doubted the love, but because sometimes love wasn't enough to fill the space between two cities. The next day,
An offer arrived in her inbox, a firm in Astor City, competitive, prestigious, a step even higher than Harborview. They wanted her badly. Come home, the message said in not so many words. Quinn stared at the screen for a long time, her chest tight, her eyes full. That night she didn't call Alexis. She needed time, needed space, needed to decide if love should ever mean sacrificing flight, or if sometimes coming back wasn't going backwards, it was choosing. When she finally picked up the phone, her hands were shaking. Alexis answered immediately. Quinn, I got a new offer. Where? Astor City. Silence. Then, are you okay? I don't know. Do you want to take it? I think I do. Then come home. Quinn blinked. Just like that. You're not giving up. You're choosing something better. We're better together. We work better when we can reach each other in the middle of the night, without time zones. But your world is still your world. Mine is changing. What if we grow apart? Then we'll grow again together, as many times as it takes. Quinn exhaled. Are you sure? I'm more sure of you than anything I've ever built. And just like that, Quinn said yes to the job, to the move, to the life, to her. When the plane landed weeks later, Quinn stepped into the terminal and saw Alexis waiting. No bodyguards, no posture, just a woman in love, holding flowers, trying not to cry. You came back, Alexis whispered. Quinn dropped her bags and kissed her like it was the only thing that ever mattered. I never left, she said, and this time it was true. The apartment was quieter now, but not empty. It was filled with the soft sounds of a shared life, the rustling of papers, the clink of coffee cups, the low murmur of music playing from the speakers. Alexis had insisted on installing in every room. Quinn moved through the space barefoot, humming under her breath, a pencil tucked behind one ear, and a rolled blueprint under one arm. She passed Alexis, who was on the phone, but still reached out to squeeze her waist as she walked by. It was these little things, not the grand gestures, that made Quinn realize how deeply, irreversibly, their lives were now woven together. It had been 3 months since she returned to Astor City. The adjustment had been surprisingly seamless. Her new job challenged her in ways that made her heart race, and at night she always came home to Alexis. Their routines overlapped, their energy complemented. They had found a rhythm, one not written in contracts or conditions, but in glances, in silence, in skin pressed to skin beneath warm sheets. And yet, beneath all the harmony, something buzzed quietly beneath the surface. The contract. It was still there, like a ghost, lingering between their touches. 2 years that had been the deal, and the end of those 2 years was drawing closer fast. Alexis hadn't brought it up, not once. Quinn didn't either, though she felt the weight of it with every passing day. Not because she feared the end, but because she didn't want them to ever feel like something that had to be renegotiated. One night, curled together on the couch, Quinn finally said it. We should talk about the contract. Alexis went very still. Her hand tightened slightly on Quinn's thigh. I know it's almost up, Quinn continued, and we haven't really talked about what that means. Alexis turned her face slowly. What do you want it to mean? Quinn exhaled. I don't want to be married to you because of a deal. I want to be married to you because I chose you, because I keep choosing you. Alexis's eyes darkened, something ancient and vulnerable flickering behind them. I thought about tearing it up the night you came back. I had it in my hands, but I didn't want to scare you off. Scare me off how? By showing you I was already in too deep. Quinn smiled softly. You weren't alone in that. Alexis leaned in, their foreheads touching. Then, let's in the contract, Quinn whispered. Alexis froze. What? Quinn stood, walked to the dining table, and retrieved a black envelope from her bag. She handed it to Alexis. Read it. Inside a new contract. 1 page only. Type simply contract of permanence. I'm exes. Gwen Mercer wished to remain married to Alexis Hale, with no expiration, no obligations, and no clause other than love, freely given and freely received. I ask her to accept this as my final proposal, not of business, but of life. Alexis wrote once, twice, then again. You're proposing to me, she breathed. Yes, Alexis blinked rapidly. And what if I want to renegotiate the terms? Quinn arched a brow. Depends what you're changing. Alexis moved closer, took the envelope from Quinn's hands, and signed at the bottom. Just one amendment, she murmured. Then she caught Quinn's hand, guided it to the page, and wrote beneath the printed lines, Clause 1, she's mine. Quinn let out a watery laugh. Deal, she whispered, slipping her arms around Alexis. They kissed there in the stillness of their shared home, windows open, the distant hum of the city folding softly around them. No cameras, no audience, no scripted roles, just the two of them. The following day, they had a small ceremony on the rooftop. No guests except the open sky. No vows except the ones they breathed. When Quinn rested her head against Alexis's chest and listened to the heartbeat that once felt so far away, she smiled. No more pretending. This time it was this time it was forever. If you enjoyed this content and would like to support the channel in a special way, consider clicking the thanks button below, the one with the little heart and $sign. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel and help me keep creating meaningful videos for